Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Laurent Boukobza and today I'm going to present the 10th sonata from Beethoven, opus 14 number 2, which has been composed in 1798-99. It starts with an allegro. First movement will be sonata allegro form. So if you don't know what is a sonata allegro form, there is a video on my YouTube channel that says Laurent Boukobza explain sonata allegro form. So I'm going to go through as if you know what it is. Otherwise, pause the video now, go watch the 15-17 minute video and come back. It's going to be a lot easier for you. What's interesting in that sonata is actually not the fact that it's following the form for once, which is very unusual with Beethoven. We talked about Beethoven being a revolutionary, loving to change enormously what's there. I'm going to play the beginning for you and you're going to hear right away what the problem is. So while you listen to this, for anybody, try to clap your hands of where you believe the beats are. If you were beating, you're probably so up to then, it feels like it's actually in the downbeat, but it's not, because now I'm going to play again from the beginning and you're going to find that there is a moment we're going to be off beats. So if we arrive off beats, that means actually when we started we were not on the beat, and then I'll play it for you where the beats are, and you're going to see that's very interesting because it's completely off beats, and this whole sonata will play with all these off beats, and the last movement is the worst of them all. If you can understand the metric of the last movement, you're a genius. But we're not on the last movement, we're on the first movement right now. Let me play again that beginning. Let's count on the beats again. I'm going to put the accents where you think they are, and let's see what happens. And we were in here with ti, ta, ta, ta. We arrive at off. So where are really those beats? Heavy accents on the downbeat. And ninth works. Of course it's very ugly this way. No one wants to play this way. I'm going to play it again and you're going to try to remember that in fact what Beethoven has done is putting you completely off beats of an eighth note. He's going to create the 3/8. 3/8 means 3/8 note within one bar. And that's when we have this huge leap on the right hand. The rhythm is here, it's obvious it's on the beat, but before that it's not. Connection, a bridge that goes to the second theme. Recognize the chromaticism, we've been talking a lot about chromaticism, and we arrive on the second theme, which is two note slur. Remember we talked about the pathétique, the 8th sonata, and on the pathétique I was saying this sonata is a sonata of two note slurs. But for the first time in here we have that. Two note slurs, and that made me think of, I just showed the beginning of it, that is Tempest, number 17. So we have an idea of Tempest right there. The second theme that develops to all these little runs. In this movement, we'll have very, very little extreme dynamics. There's no fortissimo. It goes to crescendos. That's going to go to pianos. We have that in this section in here. Now we go to the development. Interesting in that development is how long this development is going to be. So remember I mentioned mentioned how short the development was in the third movement of the fifth sonata. It was like 11 measures, 10, 11 measures. Well, here we have a development that's actually pretty long. That's like 2 pages and a half almost. And in that development, we're going to go from G major to G minor. So instead, we're going to do minor. And in the development, usually we like to make them dramatic. But here, he's going to diminish and he's going to disappear. To finally go to something dramatic, of course. But look how twice, when we expect to have something very loud, it's going to actually disappear from it. So I'm starting over. Nothing. And then suddenly. So we have that. But all of this remain in the forte dynamic. It's not fortissimo. So it doesn't have to be very, very loud and brutal. Surprise again. And now the fake recapitulation we had in the sixth sonata, the first movement. So instead of it, we're gonna. So it sounds like a recap, because that's the end of the development, but it's not, because we're in E flat major. Sonata should recap in G major. But so all of this is actually the development. And this section I love very, very much. It's actually on measure 113. It comes from an 11, but I love that moment where it leaves things floating. It sounds a little bit like Debussy. And that floating, that bridge will go back to the recapitulation. In first time we have fortissimo actually, the only fortissimo of that movement. So we start from here. You hear that floating? It's and fortissimo. Now, I would defy anyone who doesn't know that sonata to know which beat I'm on when I play this, because that's the downbeat, that's for sure, when I'm arriving here. But all these 2 note slur reappears. So what beat is that? Is it the first? First and a half? 2, 2 and a half? It's complicated to know. And that's what I like. It loses us rhythmically. With an accent on the arrival, and I'm back to the beginning. Then we expect that type of recapitulation because we have both themes. Then the second theme will be actually in G major, it's supposed to be because we're in G major. We'll end with a little coda, which is interesting because we have resonances that happen. We have dissonances. What I'm going to do is play from the ending to show you how it changes the ending to make these dissonances and resonances. Here's the coda. Dissonance, piano. The same leap we had at the beginning of the theme. Accent, forte, piano subito. It gives almost like an eerie sound, something like, oh wow, we suddenly hear that left hand that we kind of lost. So one last time. And that ending is in suspension with a staccato. It's up in the air. Interestingly enough, this is how that movement will go to the next one, which is going to be up to. But that's for next Tuesday. So that's interesting that he's announcing that next movement, and it's kind of a joke, that humor that we're going to have, because that's bizarre too. and we know he could have ended up something like that, but he's not going to do. So that's it for this first movement of that 10th sonata in G major. Now let's listen to it without interruption. So I hope you enjoyed this first movement, the explanation and my interpretation of it. Next Tuesday, I'll present the second movement, which goes exactly in the idea of this ending of that first movement. If you want to know more about me, you can follow me on all social media, Facebook, of course, and Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Of course, on my website, www.laurentboukobza.net. I hope you enjoy all these videos. Of course, please write comments. I love to read your comments. And I'll see you next Tuesday for the second movement of the sonata. Thank you very much. Bye now.